What's up guys, and welcome to FPL Today, your home for FPL content on YouTube. And this week we're going to bring some new videos for you regarding the blanks and double game weeks coming up at the tail end of this Fantasy Premier League season. So if FPL content is something you want in your subscription box, consider subscribing to the channel. And also if you enjoyed this video, consider hitting that like button for me. All help is much appreciated. So we are starting off by letting you guys know when the blanks and double game weeks are going to be. Now, game week 31 is confirmed as a blank game week with only one fixture potentially being in and potentially being out, that being Tottenham Hotspurs versus Newcastle. All the rest of blank game week 31 has been finalised, and then game week 34, 35 and 37, these are what the majority of people believe are going to be the blanks and the double game weeks. Game week 34 most likely going to be a double game week for the fixtures that weren't played in game week 31. Game week 35 most likely going to be the blank because of the FA Cup semi-finals, and then game week 37 is most likely going to have the fixtures that weren't played in game week 35. So what does that mean for us Fantasy Premier League players? It means if we plan ahead, we can maximise our points in the Fantasy Premier League and boost our rankings significantly. And that means we have to strategise and plan our moves ahead of time to make the most of these game weeks where the casual player will not be making these plans in advance. And they're either going to take minus hits to bring in more players for a game week, or they're just going to have not enough people playing in the game week compared to the rest of us. Now, there's a pretty popular and unanimous strategy amongst the FPL community on Twitter, on Reddit, all over the place, with the plan of how to maximise your points during this period of the season. And the strategy goes as follows. Leading up to game week 31, just try and bring in players for your game week 31 blank game week, so you have as many players as possible, aiming for around 8 to 9, but if you can have 11, that's fantastic. Maybe take a hit if you really think a player is going to do well in game week 31, because of course if you have someone who isn't playing and you bring in someone that is definitely going to play, you're only really taking a -2 as long as they don't get a red card, a yellow card or an own goal. So no chips or wildcard used before game week 31. Then in game week 32 or 33, you use your wild card to pick as many players playing in game week 34 and game week 37 twice. Of course, you still have to take into account who you think is actually going to play well and who isn't. So don't just bring in loads of players who have 2 games in game week 34 and 37 and then they play badly in both. You're trying to pick out the players that are likely to score lots of points in these fixtures. Then in game week 34, you play the bench boost purely because the bench boost is most likely to be most effective when there's still a lot to play for in the season, which is more likely to be the case in game week 34 than it is in game week 37, where some teams may be mid-table, may already be relegated, may already have won a title, may have other aspirations. So you're more likely to get rotation and surprise performances in game week 37 than you are in game week 34. So hopefully with bench boost you maximise your points with potentially 15 double game week players, which means every single one of your players, 15 of them, play twice. Then in game week 35, you go and play the free hits, which means you don't get affected by the teams that aren't playing in game week 35 that did have a double game week in 34 or have a double game week coming up in 37. You can just pick a team for this bunch of fixtures only and strategize for the rest of the season without worrying about this blank game week. Then in game week 37, if you still have a chip left, something like the triple captain, which I unfortunately don't, then you play that on someone that you think could have a very good game week 37, and that is the way most people believe you can maximise your points during this part of the season. So with game week 31 coming up, and with the confirmed fixtures being Bournemouth, West Brom, Huddersfield, Crystal Palace, Stoke and Everton, and Liverpool and Watford, what should we be trying to do for game week 31 to maximise our points? Well, first of all, Spurs versus Newcastle could be in this game week if Rochdale beats Spurs tonight. If that is the case, then Tottenham Hotspurs players and Liverpool players will be the players you should be considering to bring into your side because they have favourable fixtures in a game week where not all the big teams are playing. However, if Tottenham are not in this game week, which could be likely because they're most likely going to beat Rochdale in the FA Cup, then Liverpool are the only big team in this game week, and most of us already have 2 or 3 Liverpool players. So who else should we bring in for blank game week 31? Now, what I do want to say before we get into this is if you do not have a wild card, do not bring in too many players for this game week, purely because then you're going to have to start transferring them out, because these aren't the best teams in the league to be picking lots and lots of players from. However, if you do have the wild card, straight after this game week, you can get all of these players out without taking minus hits. So do keep that into consideration as I talk in this video. The teams with the best underlying stats going into this blank game week 31 are actually Bournemouth, Crystal Palace and Watford, whereas the best team defensively going into this is Watford as well, but with them playing against Liverpool, I would take those underlying stats with a pinch of salt. So in my mind, you're looking at the likes of Bournemouth, Crystal Palace and then any in-form players to be bringing in for game week 31. So if we look at the goalkeepers, the 2 goalkeepers that stand out to me as options are Wayne Hennessy at 4.3 million. Appearances, he's had 6, which means he's nailed on. Clean sheet 1, he's had 23 saves and he's faced 32 shots on target. And then Jack Butland as well, 5 million, 6 appearances, 2 clean sheets, saved 30 shots in the last 6 game weeks and has faced 36 shots on his goal in total. With Palace against Huddersfield and with Stoke against Everton, there's potential for clean sheets there. It's not a guarantee by any means, and if you can get Karius in goal, that might be the way to go. But those are the 2 that stand out to me as options to be considering to bring in for game week 31. And then with defenders, we've got Dawson at 4.8 million, 6 appearances, a clean sheet, 2 goals, and has had 6 attempts in the last 6 game weeks and 3 shots on target in the last 6 game weeks. Patrick Van Arnholt at 5.1 million, again 6 appearances, which is what we want to see. 1 clean sheet in the last 6, 9 attempts on goal. Created 7 chances and 2 big chances as well. So potentially he could come in and get some points because the underlying stats are very promising. And then there's Moritz Bauer, 4.5 million from Stoke. Appearances 6, which is what we want to see in the last 6. Clean sheets 2, chances created 2, and minutes per chance created at 77 minutes. So those are the 3 defenders I'm looking at going into the blank game week. There's also, of course, the Bournemouth defenders who are capable of scoring goals, which would boost their points, but defensively they're not the best. Going to midfield, and I've had this guy for a while now, but Shaqiri has been on fire recently, so is someone I'd definitely consider having for the blank game week. He's probably going to be highly owned as well, as is Theo Walcott. Shaqiri at 6.2 million, 6 appearances in the last 6, 3 goals and 1 assist. Chance every 41.5 minutes, and a chance created every 42 minutes. Theo Walcott is also the other one that's going to be owned very highly. 5 appearances in the last 6, 2 goals, 1 assist, a chance every 43.5 minutes, and a chance created every 87. Not as good as Shaqiri, but in a blank game week you can't be too picky. And then Lapara is the other one, although Chris Brunt almost got into this as well as Junior Stanislas, but I was just worried Chris Brunt's underlying stats weren't good enough and Stanislas could be a rotation risk. But Lapara at 4.8 million, 5 appearances in the last 6, 2 goals from 9 attempts on goal. 5 of them have been on target and a minute per chance at 48.8 minutes. And then finally we look at the forwards, and to be honest, it's slim pickings here because none of these guys have great underlying stats, and whilst they have been scoring goals and getting assists, none of them stand head and shoulders above the others. Wilson in the Bournemouth side, they can be quite attacking. At 6 million, he's had 6 appearances in the last 6, 2 goals, 2 assists. Minute per chance at 65.1 minutes though. The minute per chance created at 104, which are not great underlying stats. And to be honest, with Defoe coming back, there's the worry of rotation. You got Niasse at 4.9 million. He's had 5 appearances in the last 6, 2 goals, 1 assist. But again, the minutes per chance at 57 and the minutes per chance created at 111 minutes isn't fantastic. And then we got Salomon Rondon at 6 million, 6 appearances, 1 goal. He's had 20 attempts on goal. Having only scored 1 from 20 attempts on goal, that is a little bit worrying. 5 shots on target from 20 as well isn't the greatest number you want to see. And he's had a chance every 26.4 minutes, which is much better than Wilson and Niasse, but he's scored less goals. So those are the players I would be looking at for game week 31 if you're trying to make the most of the blank. Also, make sure to check out another video I do about strategies for the blanks and doubles, which don't just talk about the popular strategy in this video, but talk about what you could potentially do if you are missing the wild card and the free hit. Anyway guys, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. As always, I hope you've liked this different sort of video on the channel, and I hope it helps you out massively to boost your FPL rankings in the Fantasy Premier League. I've been JNO, this has been FPL Today, and remember, it's all about the game.